Good day, everybody, and welcome to Tracking Tropics with Weather Goes. Today is the 15th of July, 2025. Here to track some tropical system around the world with you. So here we have to first look into the Atlantic Ocean as a new tropical invest has been designated by the NHC as Invest 93L. On the satellite, you can see it's just located off the coast of Florida, possibly bringing some thunderstorm and shower to the state and causing some slight flooding in some places. And this system could possibly develop into tropical cyclone in the next couple of days. Other than that, Atlantic Ocean's looking relatively quiet. So let's look at the latest NHC advisory. Here it is currently giving it a 40% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone in the next 2 days and 7 days. The general idea of this system is it could possibly cross Florida and enter Gulf of Mexico. There it could have a chance to develop into a tropical cyclone, and then it could turn north or northeastward and impacting the coastline of states along the Gulf of Mexico, such as Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So this region is possibly where it will impact, and obviously it's currently bringing some thunderstorm and shower to places in Florida, and it's definitely one that we can monitor. So his spaghetti model, well, it's currently still quite a lot of disagreement whether this storm will take a more northern track or more southward track, but the models have the general idea, as I mentioned earlier, of entering the Gulf of Mexico and possibly impacting coastline of the states along the Gulf. Currently, there's still some disagreement. Some model believes it will move closer to land. Some believe it will stay, more into the Gulf for a longer period of time. It will possibly be less disagreeing after it crosses Florida. As you can see, most of the disagreement starts here. So in the next 12 to 24 hours, it could possibly be a bit more clear of whether this storm will take what trajectory and whether it will be strong or not. And if we look at the ASCAT, which is a scan for a wind field of the system, as you can see on the graph, we can see a sign of a closed system in the center of this Invest 93L, and its early signs of actually a tropical cyclone development. However, the wind, on the other hand, isn't quite there yet. The strongest winds of the system around the center still remains around 15 to 20 knots, which is distance away from tropical depression force wind. But in terms of the structure, it is kind of getting there. A close center is always an early sign for pretty decent development of a invest or area of interest. Here is the sea surface temperature. As you can see here, the Gulf of Mexico is very, very hot. Really, tremendously warm, which isn't rare during the summertime, because the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico is usually hotter than other parts of the Atlantic Ocean, normally during summertime. Here's another example. 31 degrees in the northern part of the Gulf, even reaching to 32 degrees along the coastline of Louisiana or Mississippi and Alabama. So definitely favorable for 93L to continue development once it enters this region. Wind shear wise, looking into the Gulf of Mexico, not too bad at all, just 5 to 10 knots, pretty favorable. To the western side of the Gulf, possibly a bit higher at 25 knots, but generally speaking, it's not too bad at all. And if 93L is to take a more southerly track, as we mentioned earlier, it is going to develop much more in this condition, and this condition is very favorable at this moment. So if it takes a track more northwards, it will obviously be closer to land, and it will be difficult to organize itself, and it will also spend less time in the Gulf to strengthen. So this is a key aspect. The route of the storm will really decide how strong it will be. So let's hope this storm wouldn't take its track more to the south, but there is a possibility of this happening. So speaking so much about the future, let's look at the present. So looking at this satellite, really some decent convection blowing up to the southern side of the storm, and it is affecting Florida quite a bit. Believe the strong thunderstorm and rain shower is currently here, as where I'm encircled right now. You can see some of the outer flow is also expanding into the Gulf of Mexico. And then you can see the northern side of the storm has not got a strong convection as the southern side of the storm, as we believe is currently affected by some wind shear. But on the infrared, you can see some sign of some small sign of virtuosity developing in the center. Not too obvious, not that easy to make out of, but it is trying to do that. And it's more obvious that, the strong convection is mainly located in the south. And you see these areas, I believe, currently affected by some pretty strong rainfall and thunderstorms. So if you live in the eastern central coast of Florida, you need to watch out for the weather. And in addition, we can look at the moisture satellite. Here we can observe there's some sort of dry air to the north of the system at the moment. I believe this is also one of the reasons of why the convection in the north is relatively weak. And in the south, you can see a large amount of moisture air is currently being wrapped into the system, and it's currently helping it to further develop some strong convection to the south of the system. So here is the computer models. This is the European model, the ECMWF. So let's take a look, and it's expecting 93L to just go across Florida and then into the Gulf of Mexico. There it could possibly make some slight development, but it wouldn't be much. Yeah, the ECMWF is really not expecting anything too crazy. Possibly just a low-end tropical depression, really. Let's turn on the particle system. You can see here some sort of circulation is expected to happen. If you look at in terms of the rainfall, you can see it's going to be a pretty small system as ECMWF is expecting. The rainfall, some of this strong rainfall could affect Louisiana and other states along the Gulf Coast. So it doesn't matter how strong or whether the system develops into a tropical cyclone, it could still bring some substantial rainfall to the region. And if we look at the wind field again, you can see it's expecting it to become kind of a mid-range tropical depression, possibly a high-end tropical depression, but it's not going to be something too insane, really. But ECMWF is possibly taking a more conservative expectation as at the pace of this system developing. Really, it probably will be a bit more than a tropical depression if it was to develop into tropical cyclone. If we take a look at another model in GFS, it's also a pretty same image, really, expecting it to become not even a tropical cyclone, really, expecting it to just move inland, go across Florida, possibly across the Panhandle, and just dissipate inland. So both GFS and the European model is pretty conservative about this. But in terms of the ICON model, which is the German model, a bit more aggressive, really, expecting it to become more of a stronger system, possibly a high-end tropical depression, then possibly a tropical storm. Force wind, you can see tropical storm force wind developing to the southeast of the storm, and it probably move into Louisiana, making a landfall there later this week. So you can see this is an example of the disagreement of model have at the moment with this system. But apart from this German model, the other computer models are really not expecting anything too much from this system. So it could still change, but at the moment you can say they're lagging behind, or maybe they're right, but we don't know, because at the moment there's still quite a lot of uncertainty. So after speaking so much about the Atlantic Ocean, let's take a look at the Western Pacific Ocean. Inverse 96W and 08W, a tropical storm, is active in the Western Pacific Ocean. 08W is heading towards Japan, and it currently is designated as a tropical storm by the JTWC. However, the JMA doesn't think it is a tropical storm, hence why it doesn't really have a name. It's currently located at 32.7 degrees north, 140.7 degrees east, moving northwards at 41 kilometers per hour. Winds of 45 miles per hour and a minimum pressure of 1,002 millibars. It is expected to move northwards at a very quick speed, and is going to have some impact on the eastern coast of Japan while maintaining a tropical storm status. It will take quite an identical track to Nuri, pretty similar trajectory, but the effect wouldn't be too high as it's only a mid-range tropical storm and it will be gone very soon because it's moving very fast. If we look at the satellite imagery, you can see the center of the system is beginning to separate from the main convection. A partially exposed low-level circulation center isn't really helping it to maintain its intensity. The infrared satellite shows just small amount of convection continue to blow up from the center. Nearly no circulation from the higher cloud tops, just a low-level circulation center struggling to survive against the pretty bad condition at the moment. The Western Pacific is expected to continue to remain quite busy in the next couple of weeks. So after 08W is gone, 96W is expected to develop further next to the ocean around Philippines, as you can see here. This is expecting to be, this is, I believe, 96W. This is what the European model is expecting. In addition, it could intensify to a tropical storm, then it will continue to intensify, moving, possibly into the South China Sea. Then you can see it's going to become a pretty big system and impacting areas around the river delta. So big cities like Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangzhou could see some impacts from this storm. Otherwise, another system expected to develop and possibly strike the Kyushu Island after that, but that's pretty far away from where we are now. But what we need to focus on is 96W. Here, it could possibly be a threat to the coast of southern China, particularly Guangzhou. This is the AI model. As you can see, it's been really accurate with its track prediction recently, so it's never a bad thing to just take some reference from it. You can see expecting it to move across the Luzon. Hold up, it's not loading. It's going to move across Luzon and then into the South China Sea, and then possibly impacting the southwestern coast of Guangzhou, just like what the ECMWFF is expecting. So yeah, this could be something that we can look out for. And otherwise, you can see after this 96W system, two more systems expecting to develop. One could hit Taiwan, and one could continue to develop in the Western Pacific Ocean. And Western Pacific could continue to be busy in the next couple of weeks. So in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, things are quite quiet there, not developing. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, 90S continue to be present, continue to have a low chance to develop into anything significant. So here is Tracking Tropics today. It's done. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time soon. Goodbye.